ARIES, pages from the book by Ciro Discepolo, Blue Diamond Publisher, Milan, 1919. The zodiac sign of Aries is a fire sign, cardinal because it begins a season, masculine, positive in a psychological sense, and governed by Mars. Average period March 21st to April 20th. General characteristics. The sign of Aries is the first zodiac sign and concerns the degrees ranging from 1 to 30. It symbolizes the first fire, that of the spark, the flamethrower, or the lightning bolt. It is related to an extremely dynamic idea of how nature functions, a sudden transition from a state of calm to a state of action. During its dominion, glaciers melt, the first blades of grass sprout from the ground, animals wake up from their long winter hibernation, and all of nature manifests a dynamic principle of action and collective awakening. The animal, the ram, is the suitable icon to represent all of this. It charges head down, with furious changes from a state of stillness to one of war, and it does not worry whether it will find a pillow or a reinforced concrete wall in front of it. In ancient medieval times, enemy castle gates were charged with the ram's head, and the animal corresponding to it is also the hypermale of the herd, capable of many, multiple, and rapid sexual performances. In literature, however, the character who best embodies these 30 zodiacal degrees is Tarzan, the lord of the jungle, who crosses it by flying from one tree to another, clinging to a rope with a dagger in his mouth. He is primitive but full of strength and courage, athletic, explosive, and primary, in the sense that he is not used to and never will be, even with an eventual civilization, mediating actions with thought. He will always be incapable of counting to 3 before acting. His actions will be instinctive, genuine, immediate. From this, one grasps the enormous frankness of which the sign is capable, but also its total lack of diplomacy, which makes it resemble an elephant in a china shop. It absolutely lacks tact and does not mince words. He speaks first and thinks later. The typical representative of this sign lives only in the present and considers the past and the future almost not at all. The past bores him deeply, and the future is a commitment, an attention, a concentration of actions that require strategy, all things that are very far from his primary mind, accustomed only to acting by short circuit in an immediate manner. But this does not mean that he's a savage, because education and social living will eventually succeed in partly calming his heat and making him a normal representative of society, even if animal-like intemperances will always shine within him. For this reason, he has a linear and simple mind and hates all tortuous reasoning and complicated puzzles. He is not a born chess player and distances himself from novels like those of Kafka. He prefers everything that is simple and direct, and might throw the sticks of the Chinese game into the air, for example, if you proposed it to him. You will hardly be bored with him, because he always behaves like a record being played at a higher speed. He is full of inventiveness and movement, both physical and mental. He is certainly among the healthiest of the zodiac, both in a mental and physical sense, like Leo. Nevertheless, it sometimes happens that he falls into deep, depressive crises, and this occurs because he is accustomed to charging head down, and does not worry if he will find a pillow or a wall in front of him. In the second case, he breaks his horns, scorna, and then can have vertical drops in energy. Generally, however, he pulls himself up magnificently after these debacles, and recovers in a very short time. His permanent mental gymnastics should be entirely directed toward one and only one purpose: learning to count to 10 before acting. In this way, he would certainly live better and make his loved ones live better as well. The physical type generally, we find a fairly lean type, limited to the fact that in contemporary society the vast majority of human beings tend to be overweight or even obese. Usually he's recognized by his head, which is a bit larger than normal, and by the frontal cheekbones, which are quite prominent. Women usually wear their hair straight and long, without need for maintenance. Aries, in fact, hates spending many hours in front of a mirror or at a hairdresser, and even more hates a very well-groomed hairstyle that requires continuous daily touch-ups. Being a simple and direct being, he wants his hair to be that way too. Many times we may happen to see Aries with small or large scars on the body, especially on the face and head, and this depends on the impetuosity mentioned before, and the fact that he has an unmediated relationship with danger. For example, he often burns himself in the kitchen because he lifts a pot without pot holders. Work, as always, it greatly expresses the basic tendencies of the sign. Aries is a born leader, a fighter, a generous person who drags everything and everyone behind him. As always, there is a discussion to be made about container and content. For example, we could also have an Aries painter, but in that case it would be a Van Gogh who, instead of brush strokes, will deposit lashes of fiery color on the canvas, incendiary reds, dazzling yellows, very strong hues like his character. The professions in which he would best excel are those in the sporting or police fields. He is a born athlete and can aim to destroy previous records in every sport. Often his career is precisely a sporting one, as a soccer player, swimmer, wrestler, etc. Other times he distinguishes himself as a sports coach, and often for his whole life will gravitate toward the world of sports. He is also very good, as mentioned, as a policeman, at catching thieves and criminals. The martiality that distinguishes him, let's not forget that the planet that governs him is indeed Mars, predisposes him to the use of weapons, to battles, to armed chases, and to all the activity of a policeman, or even a professional soldier in any branch. The same martiality very often directs him toward warrior professions, such as that of the lawyer who every morning must go to court as if he were going to the trenches. In fact, among those belonging to this sign, we find very many lawyers, magistrates, and clerks, but we also find very many Aries as captains of industry, company managers, union and political leaders, in short. In everything they do, they will put their Aries verve, the essence of 10 cups of coffee. And it will indeed be very difficult for their colleagues or collaborators to keep up with them, given the highly accelerated rhythm to which they are accustomed, and to which they would like to accustom others. It would be wise not to have them do work in contact with fragile and precious objects, contemplative work, and certainly work that requires a lot of diplomacy. In this sense, they are true disasters. The Aries child. The Aries child is an extraordinary little one who combines at the same time the joy of the parents and the bewilderment of others. If you take him to a friend's house, he will stay still for only a few moments and then begin to assault everything that surrounds him. He will express his psychophysical health and his energy even by climbing on your guests' furniture or destroying their appliances. He is a child bursting with energy and must be allowed to live as such. For him, one would say, the same rule as for dogs applies. If you don't have a garden, don't have Aries children. He needs to be in the open air and above all, to play, run, and express himself in sports. It is indeed of fundamental importance, on pain of his physical and mental health, whether or not he's made to do sports. It is preferable, however, to have him do non-dangerous sports, because he tends to hurt himself easily. Opt, therefore, for swimming instead of soccer, and for running instead of skiing. Psychologically speaking, he has very few complexes and does not need special care in his growth. Love Aries is a passionate being who cares a great deal about love. If he has a partner who is a bit cold or not quite up to satisfying strong sexual appetites, the latter is condemned to suffer repeated adulteries. He or she loves like a flame. He burns with passion. He lights up like a match, and both in the male and female form is capable of repeated as well as rapid sexual performances. He's not easily conditioned mentally, so all the sermons and warnings in this world will be useless if one attempts to make him deviate from the intention to betray. He is among the signs that betray the most because he does not suffer from guilt complexes and other mental conditionings. We have said that he is a primary, and as such, if he feels a very strong attraction for another being, as always he does not count to 3, and directly expresses his feelings. Often in his life there are divorces and separations. He is strong and also manages to overcome the pain of an emotional separation. When he is very proud of his partner, then he is led not to betray and to live such a relationship with emphasis. His signs of destiny, for better or for worse, are Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and Cancer. Count how many such couples you know and you will realize the validity of this rule. Health Aries does not have time to get sick and almost always chooses the fastest way to do it, rapid and very strong fevers with which he discharges all his pathologies. These are predominantly acute and not chronic in nature. Furthermore, he has a tendency to injure himself continuously, especially on the face and head. Head ailments are his specific area, and he often suffers from cervical arthritis, sinusitis, ear infections, and similar pathologies. Being a strong and generous type, he hardly takes those precautionary measures so clear to other signs, and leaves the house, even in the middle of winter, perhaps without a hat and without a scarf, which causes him the cold-related ailments to the organs of the head mentioned before. Having said that, it must be reiterated that he is constitutionally very strong, much stronger than the others, and it is difficult to keep up with him in any activity because he behaves as if he were a motor being run at a voltage much higher than it should be. Aries, pages from the book, by Ciro Discepolo Blue. Diamond Publisher, Milan, 1999.